Sara Gottfried. I just wanted to hop on live for a few minutes and talk about a couple of things. I've noticed that my sleep has really changed. Hi, welcome. I've noticed my sleep has really changed during the pandemic, and so I wanted to talk about why that is. And I also wanted to hear about your sleep, what's going on with your sleep, how could we work together to maybe improve your sleep? I can't give you medical advice, but we can troubleshoot a little bit here. And I wanted to get a sense of what you're doing during the pandemic. Like what's different with your behavior? What are you doing to take care of your immune system? I've been completely obsessed with the immune system, and I wonder if you've gotten more interested in it. So I want to welcome everyone who's here. I want to see where you're from. I see a lot of you waving. Hello. It's so nice to see you. So let's talk about sleep for a minute. I've been really working on improving my sleep. I felt like sheltering in place is such a good time to look at my sleep with my tracker. I use the Oura Ring to track my sleep. You could also use Fitbit. There's lots of different ways to track your sleep. And what I've been focused on doing with my sleep is to improve my REM sleep and also my deep sleep, because deep sleep is where you take care of toxins, you get rid of beta amyloid, you get like all that gunk that kind of accumulates in your brain, you wash it out. And so I wanted to really focus on improving my deep sleep, because when I first got this ring, I was traveling a lot. I had about an hour of deep sleep every night, and last night I got 2 hours and 24 minutes. And so I feel like what I'm doing to try to improve my deep sleep is helping. And so I wanted to talk about some of those things. I've done some posts on this, on magnesium and some of the other things that have been shown to help with deep sleep. But one of the things that I think really makes a difference is taking a sauna. So I don't know how many of you have a sauna at home. I do, because I grew up with a sauna. I think saunas are so incredibly helpful for the immune system. And I just saw that Rhonda Patrick, who's one of my favorite people talking about saunas, had a post about how she thinks that the sauna can make a difference in terms of immune function. There's not direct proof that it makes a difference with COVID-19, but I think a sauna can really help you with improving your immune response through heat shock proteins, which we know improve cellular homeostasis. They help you become more resilient toward infections. So I'm a big fan of the sauna. So I got 2 hours, 24 minutes of deep sleep last night. Hooray. I had a sleep score of 95 with my Oura Ring. And if you don't have an Oura, I want you to consider getting one. It's great to ask for it as a birthday gift. It comes from Finland. I hope we actually have capability to make Oura Rings in the US going forward. But when it comes to COVID-19, there's a study that I'm doing that's jointly offered between Oura and the University of California, San Francisco, and also Scripps in San Diego, to look at the prediction of the measurements that are done with the Oura and how that can help to track whether you have COVID-19 or not. So they're doing this study in controls like me, and they're also doing it in other healthcare providers that are working at UCSF and at Scripps. And what they found is that the three things that predict whether you have COVID-19 the best, and I don't know that this has been published yet, so I'm just going to kind of speak generally here, are number one, having a temperature that's elevated. That makes sense, a fever with the virus. Number two, an elevated respiratory rate. And number three, a decreased oxygen saturation. So that shows that the lungs have been affected with COVID-19. So those three things have been published in the World Health Organization, an interim report that they had that I read. But I think it's really important to understand that we can track some things to see if COVID-19 is affecting you. So I'm going to read some notes here. You tested negative. Do you recommend clinicians get tested? So I have not tested for COVID-19. I just have had zero symptoms. It's possible that I've been asymptomatic and infected with it, but I don't think so, because I've been tracking with my Oura Ring since before this pandemic, and I've had zero change in terms of my temperature. The only time I have a slight elevation in my temperature is when I ovulate. I'm still ovulating. So What are those three things again, please? So number one, elevated temperature, which makes sense with the viral infection. Number two, elevated respiratory rate. So normally my respiratory rate is between about 15 and 20. And when I'm on my game and I'm doing deep breathing, it's lower than that. But it's usually between 15 and 20, and a respiratory rate that's elevated is associated with COVID-19. The third thing, number three, is a decrease in oxygen saturation. And I actually have a ring. I don't have it here. I'm like the ring lady. I have a ring that tells me oxygen saturation. It's something that you can get actually from Amazon or other sources. Maybe I'll do a post about that coming up. So you're also getting plenty of sunshine. I think that's such a good thing too. So let's talk for a minute about maybe what you're doing differently, what I'm doing differently. I'm still doing all the same things that I do for my immune system. I have a food first philosophy where I eat 5 colors of the rainbow every day. It's a little bit harder when you're sheltering in place, but I have a freezer that's full of frozen veggies, so that's how I get a lot of my color. I also get regular exercise. I'm not working out as hard as I used to, so I'm still doing cardio and I'm still doing weights, but I'm not doing such high intensity because I want to make sure that I have plenty of recovery since I'm working on my sleep. Number three, sleep is such a huge focus, and I talked about the reasons for that. And if you missed it, you could go back and listen to the beginning of our Instagram live together. Can you make a post about the rings? Yes, ring lady. I'll do like a ring post. That's a really good idea. Number four, I have supplements that I take. It's really important to realize that you can't out-supplement a bad diet. So it really starts first with food. I've got a food-first philosophy. But some of the supplements I take, which are the same as what I've always taken, include the vitamin Bs, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc and selenium. I actually have to take copper because I've got a gene that makes me low in copper. And having a copper-zinc balance is really important. I take phosphatidylserine. I'm taking a little more of it because it helps with cortisol. And I also take fish oil, which helps with high cortisol, just because of, dealing with a husband at home, an alpha male, and dealing with daughters. I have one daughter who kind of comes and goes, who's 20, and then I have another daughter who's 15 who just is here all the time. And that can be stressful. I wonder if you guys are feeling that. So I take a little more fish oil than I usually do. I'm taking about 4 to 5 grams a day. So spending time outdoors, yes. So here's some of the things that I'm doing differently. I'm taking more saunas. I mentioned the reasons for that. Number two, I'm gardening more. I'm really loving gardening, just like kneeling in the dirt and pulling weeds. And oh my gosh, there's so many weeds in my garden. I feel like I could work there. I could shelter in place for months and I still wouldn't make a dent on these weeds that I see every day in my garden. It's also important to spend time in my yard, my backyard, without noticing the weeds because, you get like this radar for weeds and then it just like ruins your time in the yard. I had dinner with my family last night in the yard and I just was like ignoring the weeds. So yes, I see someone, toddler and pre-tween plus a husband equals stressed out. Yeah, so I take more fish oil and more phosphatidylserine because it really helps me with the stress. I used to meditate every morning. Now I'm meditating in the morning and also before I go to bed. It really makes a big difference, and I think it's helping with the deep sleep that I'm getting. As I mentioned earlier, my sleep score last night with my Oura Ring was 95 with 2 hours of REM sleep, 2 hours, 24 minutes of deep sleep, which is 2.5 times what I used to get, especially when I was traveling all over the place. So that's pretty exciting. So those are some of the things that I'm doing differently. And I wonder if you guys have any questions, any thoughts. I started meditating 2 to 3 times a day from Easy Steps Wellness. Yay! I think that makes such a difference. I mean, we could all just do that right now. I feel like I could use a belly breath right now. So maybe we'll have a big exhale and inhale together. Let's do a 5 count. Hold at the top and exhale for a 5 count. Phosphatidylserine. So let me see if I can spell it out for you. It's also known as PS. It's in pretty much every book that I write because it's so important. It works on the brain. The brain is where you have your stress response. A lot of people think it's just the adrenals, but it's the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the hippocampus, and the brain, and how it talks to the rest of the body, including your gut and your adrenals and your thyroid gland and your ovaries if you have them, or your testes if you're a man. And so it's really important to understand that the brain is kind of the master when it comes to stress. And so we really want to work with the brain. We know that phosphatidylserine really helps with those cortisol receptors that have a very high density in the hippocampus, the part of the brain that's involved in memory consolidation and also emotional regulation. So I spelled out phosphatidylserine for you. It looks like I spelled it correctly. It's in all of my books. I talk about cortisol and phosphatidylserine in my book, The Hormone Cure. That's probably the best place to get some information. So I just wanted to hop on briefly to say hi to you guys and to see how it's going. I just did an Instagram Live with Dr. Taz Bhatia. So you can go to Dr. Taz MD and you can see the live that we just did. We talked about a lot of supplements. We had fun kind of riffing in a girlfriend way about supplements for immune function and kind of what we're learning from this pandemic. The final thought that I want to share with you before I sign off, hello, is that healing ourselves, healing our bodies, healing our immune system. I'm someone who has a positive ANA. I have kind of this overactive immune system, and that may be true for many of you, especially if you have an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's thyroiditis or other autoimmune conditions. I have a genetic issue that makes me not do adaptive immunity very well. And so I just don't do antigen presentation very well. And so I have to be really careful about my immune system. And we know that the most important healing in the body happens when your sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze on button for the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is in balance with the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest half of the autonomic nervous system. So you want this really fluid, lovely balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And what that means for me, because I'm a bit of a stress case, I'm kind of a stress junkie, high cortisol on most of my testing. It's better when I'm on my game, when I'm doing my meditation and my yoga and taking my phosphatidylserine. But what I know is that the healing happens in the parasympathetic nervous system. So you want to create that beautiful sense of balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's what I wish for you. Okay, guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to end now because I have to run off and talk to another girlfriend, doctor. We got to catch up and have a cup of tea together. So I hope you're connecting with others. Thanks for connecting with me today. Bye now.